Welcome to Planet MicroCap. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and joining me today is Scott Berdahl. He is the CEO and director at Snowline Gold Corp. It's a publicly traded company. I got a couple symbols for you: SGD on the CSE and SNWGF on the OTCQB. And Snowline will be presenting at the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek happening September 13th through 16th, 2022. For more information, please go to precioussummit.com. And with that, Scott, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Robert.
It's great to have you. So this is actually our first time doing an interview together. So can you start us off with a quick overview and history of the company?
Yeah. So Snowline launched last year on the CSE. This is just our second exploration season, but the company has deep roots in the Yukon. It actually comes from my father's prospecting efforts, which go back into the 1980s, and he dragged my brother and myself out with him as little kids. So we've been at it for a long time, and basically it's the culmination of decades of exploration in the territory. We found a lot of moose pasture, but we found a lot of interesting things too. And so we've sort of had time to sift through and really identify some very high quality targets. We've vectored in on a really interesting area in the eastern Yukon, and we launched Snowline to test that. And so far, it's been very worthwhile. We've had good discoveries with our first season, and we're building on that now.
Very good. Well, let's learn a little bit more about that. What would you say makes these projects unique and different compared to some of your peers that are also operating the Yukon?
Yeah, I think that we've always stayed off the beaten path. As small prospectors, that was really our competitive advantage. And of course, as I mentioned, 9 times out of 10 that leads to nothing. But when you do find something totally new, then you do really have a leg up. And in the Yukon, we've been operating in an area, especially in the last 10 years, where there's been very little historical work. Despite these rocks being really interesting, Selwyn Basin rocks, they have a similar geology to the Great Basin in Nevada, which is a world-class gold camp. They have a similar setting and structure and so on to a lot of good gold camps in the world. And with our preliminary data that we have, we've identified this potential district out there. And so having that first mover advantage in a big area that just hasn't been looked at before, that's something that makes Snowline unique. And really our first two discoveries, Jupiter and Valley, both of them, well, Jupiter is a kind of a blind target, but it's a big float train going down a creek that if any prospector or any geologist had walked up that creek before, it would have been staked. And yet there it is, just sitting there. And in Valley, you have mineralization just sticking out of the ground. There was a pair of brothers who were working for a company, that Shane and Luke Carlos, great prospectors. They came out there with some people at Golden Predator who we had optioned the property to previously, and found this big deposit just sticking out of the ground there. So that's pretty special. I don't think there are too many places in the world left where you can go and find potentially world-class deposits that are just daylight, and they're just sticking out of the ground and waiting for a geologist to walk over them.
This is a question I always have for when I do an interview with my junior miner and they say, this just hasn't been looked at before. And I always have to ask, why had this land package in this area not been looked at before?
I think by a lot of traditional metrics, it's kind of unappealing. Like a lot of it's just big, thick, like kilometers thick sequences of mudstones. And so, why would anyone go and look there? But deposit models have really evolved in recent years and recent decades, and you're starting to come across big deposits in areas that conventionally weren't really that attractive. So you look at like the Carlin trends in Nevada, where that single type of gold deposit made Nevada into a world leader in gold production. As a state competing with countries like Canada and China and so on. These shallow, sort of historically boring environments are can be quite fertile. And the other factor is, of course, remoteness, and that is a hurdle to us. We're well off the beaten path. We're not as remote as a lot of projects in the Yukon, and actually we do have options for access, but we recognize that our location does set a higher bar. But fortunately, we think that the geology there has the potential to overcome those hurdles, and so far, what we're seeing seems to be supporting that hypothesis.
Very good. All right. Well, before I let you go here today, from what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the company's near-term catalysts, by near term in the next 6 to 12 months, that folks listening to this should look out for?
Yeah, so I think the biggest one is just our assay results coming up, and that's very near term. We're expecting those mid-August. That the first of our assays, and then we should have. We're drilling. We'll be drilling over 10,000 meters this year, most likely, and so we'll be having a lot of assays coming back down the pipes from mid-August over. Over the next 6 months or so, depending on how bad the assay lab backlogs get. And then we recently closed a financing for $25 million, and that puts us in a very strong position. So we're able to not only sort of plan in advance a few years out, but starting to look at other ways to sort of grow as a company. So we're looking at further district consolidation and that sort of a thing. So there should be a lot, and really just as we get these assays back, I think that really puts well, assays pending, I suppose, but that could really cement home our discoveries or really tell us exactly what we're onto. And at the same time, we'll be stepping out onto other targets that we have identified. The valley zone that we're currently drilling is one of 2 discoveries we made last year. We have about 20 targets we've identified in this district scale area. And so we're really keen to get the drill out onto others and test those as well.
So Scott, with that, where can our audience go and find more information on Snowline Gold?
You can check out our website, snowlinegold.com. The investor deck and news releases there give a lot of information. And, the company is always available. You can reach us at info@snowlinegold.com.
Very good. All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. I'll see you in Beaver Creek.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Robert. Great to talk to you.
Thank you. Again, Snowline Gold will be presenting at the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek happening September 13th through 16th, 2022. For more information, please go to precioussummit.com.